All right, back with another D5 tutorial. This time we're looking at animation. We're going to look at the principle of keyframes, so important in creating good animations. We're also going to keep the viewer engaged with camera effects. Day to night, we're going to make it cloudy and then have the clouds disappear. And then we're going to turn on some lights as it goes from day to night. All right, let's get into it. All right, here's the animation that we're going to make. It starts out with this really cool aerial scene and then this super cool effect. It's from Severance, actually. And then you see the sunlight being animated, and it was cloudy, and the clouds disappeared. And now in this one, we're going to turn on some lights, and then it's going to go from day to night. So we'll look at creating this in D5. All right. All right, so here we are in D5. Okay, so just, if you haven't done any animation in D5, that's okay. The way to approach it is actually just to set up a camera view to begin with, which is just a scene. So you want to start with a scene. So we're going to do we'll get to the aerial, but let's just do the simpler one, I think, which is this 1-point zoom. So I just have a scene set up for 1-point zoom. I at this point, I want to set up all my environment, any effects that I want to add, like weather and things like that. I want to do that first, get that set up. I can always animate those when I go to the video mode, but you want to set up the scene with the right daylight, the right if you want rain, or the right effect. So there's two things. There's environment and effect, and you just want to set those ahead of time. Then you can go over to video, where you would make a new clip. So I'm going to make a new clip, and I'm going to go ahead and rename this. So this is my zoom in, and it's my field of view change is what we're going to animate. So that's FOV for field of view. Okay, so I'm going to go to that clip, and when I go to that clip, I can add a keyframe. Okay, so we're going to talk a lot about keyframes today. So I can add a keyframe just by clicking on this Add Current View. So I add current view, and then it adds that keyframe. So that's the beginning of the animation. Then I can add another keyframe, which is going to be the end of the animation. So I can click on this little camera icon right here, and that adds my second one. And then what I'm going to do is with this, I'm just rolling in the mouse. Real simple. Just rolling in the mouse, getting kind of close to it. And then I'm going to change the field of view of the camera. I'm going to go to camera, and I'm going to set that field of view. So right now, to start with, it's a 30 millimeter. I probably want to start with a 35 and then really exaggerate that. So I'm going to go back to the first shot, and I'm going to go to camera, and I'm going to change that to 35 millimeter. Okay, now I'm going to go to my second camera view, and I'm going to zoom in. Just rolling the wheel. That's all I'm doing, is rolling the wheel. And I'm going to go to camera, and I'm going to change the I'm going to change essentially the field of view, because I'm going to do a 15 millimeter, which you see is a wide angle. It's a 100 degree field of view. So some people, I come from the 3ds Max world way back when, and we did everything by focal length. That's what the millimeter is, focal length. But I think now everybody's just using, just changing the field of view to be wider. Okay, so I want it to end like that with a 15 millimeter. And then what I need to do is I need to update that keyframe. And once I update that keyframe, I now have two keyframes, a beginning and an end. This is now animated. So let's see what that looks like. It's going to zoom in and stretch out that field of view. It's a Severance technique, if you've ever watched Severance. So that's pretty cool. That's just our first one. Real simple animation, 2 keyframes. I like to keep my keyframes up to 2. I like my lengths to be a minimum of 4 seconds, so I can just, not 43 seconds, but I can just type in there 4, enter, and that's going to make it, it's going to make that animation 4 seconds versus 3 seconds. Super cool. All right, let's get to the aerial rotate. That was the second part of it. So again, you want to just have set up a camera view. Okay, so there's my camera view, and I can go ahead and One thing I didn't look at is the aspect ratio. That's definitely super important. So the way you set up the aspect ratio is if I make a new clip, I'm going to rename that clip. I'm going to call this one Aerial. I'm going to go into that clip. Okay, so now I'm in it here. And I'm going to go to Add Current View as my first keyframe. Now, if I select the keyframe, I don't see anything over here for aspect ratio, but if I deselect it, then I see aspect ratio. And the 16:9 seems to be set for me, but I know it's not the default. So if you're rendering at a certain aspect ratio, you're able to change it here. You just have to deselect the keyframe. So here's our first keyframe start basically, and then I'm gonna click the little. I usually move this blue guy out of the way. I'm gonna click the little camera icon. That sets up my second one, and I'm just gonna be rotating this. So I'm just doing a slow rotation. With these aerial views, you don't want to do like the tilt-a-whirl ride at a carnival. You don't want that. You don't want to make people dizzy. Again, just real subtle movements in your camera. So I'm gonna make that 4 seconds. Well, let's see if it stays. I need to update that keyframe, okay? Oh, super important. Update, update, update. So let's just see how it does. I just want some simple rotation. Yeah, it was even moving a little fast for me. So if I increase it to 6 seconds or I rotate less, a little bit less rotation. Again, I like it really just kind of nice and slow. So what can we do with this one? This one needs a little something something. Okay, so I think it needs some fog for aerials, and maybe some animation of the daylight. Okay, so now one issue is I'm adding the fog after the effect, so it's going to be animated. It's going to have a certain fog for the beginning shot and a certain amount of fog for the end shot, which is no big deal. We can do it. Okay, so here I've clicked in shot 1. I'm going over to environment, and I'm scrolling down, and I'm going to turn fog on. Okay, and then there's some settings for the fog. There's how much fog. So I'm going to start out with a lot of fog, and then we'll make it get clearer. So you kind of mess with the height and the fall off. You kind of get all these happening. A little bit of volume light, so the light is scattering. So this looks pretty good. Let's see. This looks pretty good for the start. Nice and foggy. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to update that. And then I'm going to click on my second. And what we'll find under environment is that there is no fog. Okay, because we didn't set that up in the camera to begin with, but that's okay because we're going to animate that. So we're going to turn on our fog. So the other one had a lot of fog, so this is going to have less fog. I always get that fall off on because it makes such a difference. Get my volume light on, my start distance. You really just gotta get into these number sliders and just experiment with them. So I'm gonna update. So it should start out more foggy and then be less foggy, maybe even more or less. Click on that, go to environment, bring the fog down a little more. Okay, that looks good. I'll update that. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to animate the position of the sun. So if I go back here and I go to environment, I'm going to look at my azimuth. Okay, so right now it's at 68.4. So I think it's good there for shot 1, shot beginning. But if I go to shot end, I'm going to go to environment, and I'm going to go to my azimuth, and I'm going to change that. Maybe I'll animate it that way. And then I'm going to update that. So we should see some animation of the fog and moving the daylight. Yeah, you see the shadows are moving. They're rotating. And then the fog is less fog toward the end. That's awesome. So animating the fog, animating the daylight. Okay, let's move on. What was the next one that we had? The next one that we had was this exterior day cloud scene. So this is a scene, if I play it, you can see it's got a lens flare and a rainbow flare, so it's got some effects. And as we move, we are starting to look into the daylight as we rotate slowly around. That was a 6-second animation. And it also had some clouds in the beginning, and then those clouds disappeared. So let's go to exterior day. Okay. And let's make a new clip. Okay, we're going to rename that clip. This is my exterior day. This is a sun, clouds, and effects. So a few things that we're animating there. Okay, so we're going to go into it. We're going to add our current view. Okay. So let's get some clouds going. Let's get some clouds going. So I'm going to go to environment, and I'm going to go down, and I'm going to click on the clouds, and I'm going to turn the amount and the thickness, the density. Okay, let's see, height. Keep them about there. Okay, so that's where we're going to start. That's where we're going to start. We're also going to look at the effects. So if I go to effect, which I guess was the cloud, but if I scroll down, I'm gonna have I have some bloom, I have some lens flare, I have some rainbow flare. We'll see this more when we're looking into the daylight as this rotates around. We should see that a little bit better. So let's update this camera view, and let's click on the little camera to add another keyframe. And now we're going to just rotate. We're going to rotate around. Don't want to get into the trees too much, just a little bit. But I like how the lens flare. I feel like I just need to be a little bit forward. I like how the lens flare is getting in the camera. Just trying to find that. Maybe right there. Maybe we go just past the trees. Okay, let's update this. And let's go back to the clouds, because we're going to want the clouds. So that's under environment. And we're going to take the amount of clouds down. We're going to take the thickness down. We're going to take the density down. So we're going to have more of a clear, just taking the clouds out altogether. So more of a clear sky, and I'm going to update that. Don't really know how my lens flare is animating. I can see it here, so that's a good thing. So let's just play lots of clouds, go through the trees. Definitely needs to be way longer. Let's make this 6 seconds. Okay, I'm going to animate the daylight, because it's not moving. The lens flare is static. It's not moving. So I'm going to animate the daylight. So I'm going to go back here. I like where it is. I think I like where it is at the end. Maybe not. I don't know. Let's take a look. Let's go to environment. Let's go to azimuth. Let's rotate this azimuth around. Maybe so that the focus is on the building, that the building is not in shadow at the end. That sounds like a good approach. Let's update, and then that should be animated. Lots of clouds, lens flare is rotating, not static, through the trees. Buildings lit really nicely, not in shadow. All right, awesome. All right, the last one we're gonna do is we're gonna go from day to night, and we're gonna actually animate the lights, turning them on and off, which is a really cool thing that we can do. Okay, so here we are. This is our day to night. I'm gonna get in a little bit closer, just using my mouse. So I'm probably gonna start right there. Okay, and I'm gonna add a new clip, and this is gonna be my day to night. I'm going to add the current view as my keyframe number 1. Now we're going to really, I mean, I've been talking about keyframes, but I've just been showing a start keyframe and an end keyframe. It can be that simple, but for the lights, we need to add more keyframes because it's not going to just be a start and an end. Some are going to turn on in the beginning and others will turn on toward the end. So let's look at that. Let's create the beginning and the end. So there's the beginning shot. I'm going to add a keyframe and I'm going to zoom in. I want to be higher. I want to be higher. So let's raise this up a little bit. So I'm just I'm gonna pan up. I don't want any lines tilting. I want to keep everything vertical. Okay, so I'm gonna update that. I might have to raise my first. And we're going to do this over 6 seconds too. Okay, it's a little laggy when you're playing it, but it will be smooth when you animate it. Okay, so that's our first and our second keyframe. Now we're going to animate the lights. So we're going to have those all off in the beginning. Okay, got to have them all off. So I'm going to go to shot 1 and I'm going to select and there's a little light switch, but you have to add a keyframe. So I'm adding a keyframe and then I'm turning off the light. And you'll see a little keyframe show up right here, little blue diamond. So I have some lights in here that I'm going to do that to. I'm going to add a keyframe, turn off the light switch, add a keyframe, turn off the light switch. I probably should do the end keyframe while I'm here, but that's okay. Now, it doesn't work for emissive materials, which I was kind of upset about. That big, swervy, curvy light. Doesn't work for that. Okay, I forgot to add the keyframe for that last one. Okay, so they're all off. So now I'm going to move this animation. I'm going to move in a little bit. And as I'm moving in, I'm going to turn on some of the lights. Looks like there should have been a third light there, but anyway. Did they get moved? I think my lights got moved. All right, we'll check it out. All right, so let's as we start to move in a little bit, not with my mouse, but with the actual. So I'm going to turn on this light. So I'm going to add a keyframe there. I'm going to click keyframe, and I'm going to turn the light on. And that's going to turn that light on. And then I'm going to move a little bit further, and I'm going to select the second light, and I'm going to add a keyframe, and I'm going to turn that light on. And then we're going to move even a little bit further in, and then I'm going to turn on this one. I'm going to add a keyframe and turn on the light switch. And then move a little closer. Select this one, add a keyframe, turn on the light. And then when we're getting close to the end, I'm going to select this one, add a keyframe, turn on the light. So now they're all on. So this beginning one, okay, yeah, let's just play it. Let's play it. So this one should turn on, this one should turn on, this one. That one didn't quite. It has a keyframe. It does turn on. It is working. I'm seeing that in the right side there. The switch going on and off. Okay, cool. Now, at the very end, we want it to be dark. We want it to be, maybe dusk. So I'm going over to environment, and I'm going to change my altitude. Okay. I mean, I think that's all. I mean, I can change the position or just the altitude, either one. I need to update. And then we'll just watch this go through. Lights are turning on. It's getting dark. Oh, you can see the lights turn on much better when it's darker. Oh, D5 animation. They make it so easy. It's just super, super cool. All right, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I will see you on the next one.